Have you ever watched someone slap an old man in public, and everybody just stood there pretending it wasn't their business, even though you could feel the wrongness in your bones? I have. And the wildest part is that slap came back like a boomerang on the day of her engagement, right in front of a helicopter, a billionaire, and 200 well-dressed guests. Before I tell you how that happened, let me take you back to where it started. A burning afternoon in Lagos, where money and poverty share the same streets, but never the same respect. It was one of those days when the sun sits low and heavy, cooking the concrete, making the air shimmer. Outside Golden Plaza, a fancy shopping mall with shining glass walls and big logos, the world was just doing its thing. Cars were honking motorcycles weaving through traffic. Kids running between legs, women juggling shopping bags, men barking into their phones like every call was life or death. Nothing special, nothing dramatic, just life in the city, noisy and messy and normal. Then it happened. One sound cut through everything like someone hit pause on the whole scene. Slap. You know that sharp sound skin makes when it meets more skin with anger behind it. That dry, shocking crack that makes people flinch, even if they weren't touched. Heads turned, voices stopped mid-sentence. Even the kids fell quiet for a second. And there she was, right in the middle of the parking lot, with her hand still raised in the air, like a gun that had just gone off. Her name was Sabrina. She looked like money. Smooth, dark skin, long braided hair falling down her back, a navy blue fitted suit that hugged her body just right, gold jewelry winking in the sunlight, high heels so clean they probably never touched dust. Everything about her said power, success, status. She wasn't just dressed well, she was dressed to send a message. I am not like you. In front of her stood an old man. He looked like life had chewed on him for a long time. Faded shirt trousers with little tears at the knees, cracked sandals that had walked too many roads, gray hair that didn't know what a comb was that morning. His cheek was red, fresh from that slap, his eyes wide and confused, like he had just stepped into the wrong movie. "How dare you approach me here?" Sabrina snapped, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "How dare you stare at me like that?" He blinked slowly. Shoulders. Slightly. Hunched hands, shaking just a little. "Madame?" he said in this soft, tired voice. "I did not stare at you. I was just walking. I promise you I would never do such a thing." "Liar," she spat the word like poison. "I saw you with my own eyes. You were following me, looking at me with those dirty eyes of yours. Dirty eyes. Let that sink in." The old man shook his head gentle, almost apologetic for something he didn't do. "No, madam, please believe me. I would never disrespect you. You are the same age as my daughter. I was only walking in the same direction, that is all." By then, people had gathered. They always do. Some pulled out their phones' cameras already recording, because that's how we live now. Capture first, care later. Others just watched, whispering under their breath, choosing sides without knowing the story. Sabrina laughed, but it wasn't the kind of laugh that warms a room. It was cold and empty. "Your daughter," she repeated, eyes crawling over him from head to toe, like she was inspecting a piece of trash. "Look at yourself. Your dirty clothes, your torn sandals, your hair. You can't even take care of yourself, and you're talking about having a daughter. People like you make me sick." She stepped closer and jabbed her manicured finger into his chest. "You poor men think you can do whatever you want. Walk wherever you want. Look at women like me, and nothing will happen. You think because you're old, you're innocent." A young man in the crowd, maybe mid-20s, took a step forward, hesitant, but brave. "Madam, please," he said, trying to keep his voice respectful. "This man did nothing wrong. I was here. He was just walking behind you, minding his own business." Sabrina's head snapped toward him. "Who asked for your opinion?" she barked. "Is he your father?" "Mind your business and stay out of this." An older woman also spoke up, voice gentle but firm. "The young man is right, my dear. I was watching too. That old man wasn't bothering you at all. But pride, once it gets loud, doesn't like witnesses. All of you are just defending him because he is old," Sabrina said, raising her voice so everyone could hear. "But I know what I saw. And I'm not going to let any man disrespect me. I don't care how old he is." She turned back to the old man, who still stood there quietly, head slightly bowed, like he was used to being blamed for things he didn't do. "You poor men are all the same," she continued. "You have nothing. You are nothing. And you think you can touch the lives of people like me." He looked up, his eyes sad, but not angry. "Madam, I never touched you. I was just walking." "Stop lying," she shouted. "You were too close to me. You were invading my space. How dare you walk so close to a woman like me? Do you know who I am? Do you know what I'm worth?" She grabbed her designer handbag and lifted it like evidence. "This bag costs more than what you will make in 10 years, so don't stand there and pretend you are innocent. Stay in your lane. Know your place. Let me stop here and ask you, if it were you, what would you have done in that crowd? Would you have stepped forward, or would you have looked away and pretended nothing was happening?" A security guard from the mall came over, looking from Sabrina to the old man. "Madam, is everything okay?" he asked. "This man was harassing me," she said, already turning away, like she was done with the whole thing. "But I have handled it. He knows now not to mess with me." The guard looked to the old man. "Sir, do you need help?" The old man shook his head slowly. "No, I am fine, thank you." Sabrina gave him one last look full of disgust. Next time, she said, "Watch where you walk, and keep your dirty eyes to yourself." Then she swished her braids over her shoulder, walked to a shiny black Range Rover waiting nearby, and slid into the back seat, while her driver shut the door for her. A second later, the engine roared, and the car pulled away, leaving a trail of dust and silence behind. The crowd started to dissolve. Some people shook their heads and walked off. A kind woman stepped closer and asked, "Sir, are you sure you're okay?" "Yes, madam," he said, forcing a tiny smile. "I am fine." "That woman was very rude. Someone else muttered she shouldn't have treated you like that." The old man nodded, but his voice was tired when he answered. "It is okay. I am used to it." Used to it. That part always hits me. He walked slowly to the side of the road, sat down on the curb, hands resting on his knees, eyes fixed on the ground. His face showed no anger, just a deep sadness that comes from being invisible for too long. People passed by him, some with pity in their eyes, many without looking at him at all. Nobody knew who he really was. Not yet. Meanwhile, Sabrina's Range Rover rolled through the gates of a big modern house. Tall black iron gates, white and cream walls. A small fountain in the front yard, with water flowing gently, flowers lining the walkway like a carpet of color. Everything about that place shouted, "This is where money lives." She climbed out of his car, her heels tapping on the stone path, and stepped inside. Cool air from the AC wrapped around her, the smell of polish on marble floors, and expensive perfume mixing in the air. Paintings hung on the walls, leather couches, glass tables, the whole picture. "Sabrina, you are back," a gentle voice called from the living room. It was her mother, Mrs. Adza. Early 50s, beautiful in a quiet way. Kind eyes, soft smile, wearing an expensive wrapper and blouse, but carrying herself with the kind of humility money can't buy. She believed in respect, kindness, helping others. Somewhere along the way, her daughter had taken a different road. "Yes, Mama," Sabrina replied, dropping her handbag on the leather couch and kicking off her heels. The shopping was fine, but something annoying happened. Her mother stood up, concern already touching her face. What happened? My dear, did someone upset you? Sabrina waved her hand like she was brushing away a fly. Some dirty old man was following me, staring at me with his ugly eyes. I had to teach him a lesson. Her mother's smile disappeared. Teach him a lesson? She repeated slowly. What do you mean by that? I slapped him, Sabrina said, as casually as if she was saying she sent a text, right there in front of everyone. He needed to know he can't disrespect me like that. Her mother stared at her eyes wide, voice dropping. You slapped an old man, Sabrina. Yes, Mama. And he deserved it, Sabrina insisted, rolling her eyes. He was poor. He was dirty. He had no manners. People like that need to learn respect. Something in her mother's heart broke right there. My daughter. What have you become? She whispered, shaking her head. That is not how I raised you. You cannot treat people like that. Not an old man, not anybody. Mama, please don't start, Sabrina said, already tired of the conversation. That man was nothing. Probably homeless. Probably a beggar. People like him should be grateful we even let them walk near a place like Golden Plaza. Respect, her mother said, and there was sharpness in her voice now. You are talking about respect while you slap an elder man in public. That old man is someone's father, someone's husband, someone's grandfather. He has feelings. He has a story. You don't know what he has been through in life. Sabrina stood up, annoyance written all over her face. Mama, I know you mean well, but I don't need a lecture. I did what I had to do to protect myself. No, her mother said firmly. Stepping closer and placing a hand on her daughter's shoulder, you did what your pride wanted you to do. Listen to me. Sabrina, money does not make you better than anyone. Your wealth does not give you the right to look down on others. That old man may be poor today, but tomorrow God can lift him up, and you, with all your money, can fall. Sabrina pulled away, stubbornness flaring. Mama, you worry too much. That will never happen to me. I'm smart. I'm successful. I know how to protect my position. Her mother let out a long, heavy sigh. Pride comes before a fall, she said quietly. I pray you learn this lesson before it is too late. You can probably guess what Sabrina did. She didn't listen. She picked up her handbag and said, I'm tired, Mama. I'm going upstairs to rest. Then she walked off, heels echoing up the staircase, leaving her mother standing alone in that beautiful living room, whispering a quiet prayer, asking God to soften her daughter's heart. Now, while all that was happening, let me take you across the city. Far from the noise of the markets and the shouting drivers, there was another mansion. Bigger walls, taller trees, more cameras, guards at every entrance. Gates made of heavy steel. Inside, the floors were polished marble. The furniture imported crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling art on the walls that could pay for 10 houses each. In the middle of that living room, a young man sat on a leather couch wearing a simple white shirt and black trousers. His name was Caleb. 32 years old, handsome, calm eyes, sharp jawline, the kind of man people listen to when he speaks. He owned a successful tech company that worked across Africa. He had money, power, influence, but he didn't have love. Real love, not the kind that comes running when they see the size of your house. He was scrolling through his phone, checking emails and business reports, mind fully in work mode, when the front door opened and someone walked in. Same old man from the mall, same faded clothes, same cracked sandals, same tired face. Yeah, that happened. The moment he stepped into the mansion, though, something in his posture changed just a little. His shoulders relaxed, his eyes softened like he was finally somewhere. He didn't have to defend himself. Papa, you went out again today? Caleb said, standing up immediately. Yes, my son, I did. The old man replied, as he slowly sank onto the couch. Caleb shook his head, frustration creeping into his voice. Papa, I've told you so many times you do not need to do this. You don't need to walk around dressed like a poor man. We have everything here. You don't need to go suffer out there. Sit down, Caleb, his father said gently. Let me explain something to you. Caleb sat. Because no matter how old you are when your father talks like that, you listen. Do you remember your mother? Mr. Richard asked quietly. Caleb's face changed. The easy calm faded. Yes, Papa, I remember her. Your mother was a beautiful woman. His father began, eyes staring at a place only he could see. I loved her with all my heart. But she did not love me the way I loved her. She loved money. He told his son how when they met, he was poor, struggling, doing everything he could to make something of himself. She said she didn't care. She said love was what mattered. She said they would build a life together. It sounded like something out of a romantic movie. But the moment things became hard, he said, voice tight. She left. She said I would never become anything. She said she deserved a better life. She took everything and walked away. She left you. She left me. She did not care. If you've ever been left, when you were at your lowest, you know that kind of wound doesn't just heal. It becomes part of you. I worked hard after that. Mr. Richard went on, I built this empire for you. I made sure you would never suffer the way I did. But I also learned something very important, my son. Many people only love money. They don't love the person. They love what the person can give them. And I do not want that kind of woman for you. Caleb nodded slowly. Papa, I understand your fear, but not every woman is like my mother. That is true. His father agreed. But let me ask you this. How do you know which one is real and which one is fake? How do you know if a woman loves you or loves your money? He leaned forward, eyes locked on his son's. That is why I go out there, my son. I disguise myself as a poor man. I walk the streets. I watch, I test. I observe how people treat the poor. Because if a woman can respect a poor man, if she can show kindness to someone who has nothing, then maybe she is worth knowing. But if she looks down on the poor, if she treats them like dirt, then she is not the right woman for you. Caleb sat there in silence, feeling the weight of his father's pain and his wisdom. You know what I mean, that moment when you realize someone's overprotectiveness comes from scars you didn't see before. Papa, I appreciate what you are trying to do, he said. But what if something happens to you out there? What if someone harms you? I am careful. Mr. Richard smiled faintly. I always have security watching from a distance. No one sees them, but they see everything. One day, my son, I will find the right woman for you, and when I do, I will know her heart is pure. Here's where it starts to get crazy. 2 weeks passed. Life did what life does. It kept going. Sabrina ran her cosmetics business, posed in her office, posted photos, collected compliments. Caleb managed his tech company, met investors, signed contracts, focused on growth. And Mr. Richard kept walking those streets in his old clothes, testing hearts without them knowing. Then, one afternoon, something shiny showed up in everyone's inbox. The invitation to the annual Lagos Billionaires Gala at Golden Heights Hotel. The event of the year. The place where every rich, famous, and powerful person in the city wanted to be seen. Sabrina got hers and screamed with excitement. She didn't just want to go, she wanted to own the room with her presence. She called her stylist, makeup artist, hairdresser. She tried on dresses for hours, finally landing on a red gown with gold embroidery that hugged her figure and flowed to the floor. She paired it with gold jewelry, high-end heels, and a confidence that was already rehearsing its entrance. Her mother picked a simple blue dress, elegant, but not loud. She never cared about impressing people, just about being decent. The night of the gala, the entrance of Golden Heights Hotel looked like a movie premiere. Lights everywhere, cameras flashing, red carpet, rolled out security everywhere, luxury cars pulling up one after another. Sabrina stepped out of her car, like a queen, smiled at the cameras, posed with one hand on her hip, soaking up every flash. Her mother walked a few steps behind, quiet, steady. Inside the ballroom, it was like stepping into another world. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above round tables covered with white tablecloths and gold decorations. Tall flower arrangements, a live band playing soft music. Waiters gliding through the crowd, balancing trays of drinks. Sabrina floated through the room like she owned it. Head high, greeting people she knew. Laughing loudly at jokes that weren't that funny. Flirting just enough to stay in the center of attention. Across the city, Caleb stood in front of a mirror in a black tuxedo, adjusting his tie. His father, now wearing a tailored black suit that fit him like it was made for him, stood next to him. "Are you ready?" "Yes, my son," Mr. Richard replied. "Let us go." When they arrived at the hotel, cameras turned in their direction. People knew who they were. Hands were shaken. Smiles, exchanged respect, shown. But while everyone else was caught up in the small talk and networking, Mr. Richard's eyes were scanning the room, looking for something, or someone. He found her near the dessert table. Sabrina stood there in her red gown, holding a glass of champagne, and looking at a young waiter with the same disgust she had shown that day at the mall. "I said I wanted sparkling water, not still water," she snapped. "I'm very sorry, madam," the waiter said quickly. "I will get it for you right away." "You better," she replied coldly. "And be quick, I don't have all night." The waiter bowed his head and hurried away. Mr. Richard watched, jaw tightening. He recognized her immediately. The woman who slapped him at Golden Plaza. The woman who called him nothing. The same pride, the same coldness, the same disrespect. He didn't say a word, not yet. Later that night, Sabrina's eyes landed on Caleb. When she realized who he was, rich, handsome, powerful, something lit up inside her. She adjusted her dress, fixed her hair, and walked straight toward him like she had just seen her future. "Caleb," she said, in a soft, sweet voice, "Good evening." "Good evening, Sabrina," he replied politely. "Has been a while." "I know," she said with a little smile. "I've been thinking about you, actually." "Is that so?" he asked, one eyebrow slightly raised. "Yes," she said lightly, resting her hand on his arm. "I feel like we should spend more time together. I think we have a lot in common." They talked. She laughed at everything he said, complimented his work. Made herself look like the kind of woman who understands powerful men, who can stand next to them at the top. From across the room, Mr. Richard watched them, his heart heavy. He knew exactly what she was doing, and he knew exactly who she really was. On the way home in the car, Caleb glanced at his father. "Papa, you have been quiet all night. Is something wrong?" "Who was the woman you were talking to at the gala?" Mr. Richard asked. "You mean Sabrina?" Caleb said. "We've met at a few events. She owns a cosmetics company. She seems interested in me." "I see," his father replied, staring out of the window for a moment. "Just be careful, my son. Some people are very good at pretending. They smile in your face, but their hearts are dark." "Papa, you worry too much," Caleb said with a small smile. "I can take care of myself." And here is your pattern interrupt. He thought he was in control, but he was walking straight into a storm he couldn't see yet. In the days that followed, Sabrina and Caleb started spending more time together. She called him every day, sent sweet messages, invited him to lunch at expensive restaurants where everyone could see them. Around him, she was soft, kind, attentive, always dressed perfectly, always saying the right thing. He enjoyed her company. She was beautiful, smart, charming, and she made his life feel a little less lonely. Then one afternoon, Caleb said, "Sabrina, I would like you to meet my father if that's okay." Her heart raced. Meeting the father of a billionaire wasn't just a date, it was an opportunity. "I would love to meet him," she replied, with that sweet practice smile. They arrived at the mansion. Mr. Richard was sitting in the living room reading a newspaper, dressed in a calm, powerful way. No faded shirt, no torn trousers now. He looked exactly like what he was, a man who built an empire. Papa Caleb said, smiling. "This is Sabrina." Sabrina stepped forward gracefully. "Good afternoon, sir. It is such an honor to meet you," she said, voice dripping with politeness. Mr. Richard looked up at her and studied her face. She did not recognize him. Not even a hint of memory. To her, he was just another rich man with a big house. He gave a small nod. "Good afternoon," he replied. They sat. She praised the house, complimented the furniture, smiled at everything, laughed softly at Caleb's jokes, called Mr. Richard sir with every sentence, like she was reading from a manual on how to impress African billionaire parents. From the outside, she looked perfect. But here's the thing. Once you have seen how someone treats people, they don't need you, can't unsee it. After she left, Caleb's eyes were hopeful. "So what do you think, Papa?" "She is polite," Mr. Richard said carefully. But Caleb pushed hearing something under the surface. "But I do not trust her," his father said plainly. "My son, please be careful with this woman. I do not think she is who she pretends to be." "Papa, you are being unfair," Caleb protested. "You don't even know her." "I know enough," his father answered. Caleb shook his head, frustration rising. "I understand you want to protect me, but you cannot keep me away from every woman I meet. I am not a child." "I know you are not a child," his father said softly. "But I am still your father, and I will always protect you, whether you like it or not." Caleb walked out of the room, anger burning in his chest. "Let me ask you, if your father or mother warned you about someone you were in love with, would you listen? Or would you do exactly what Caleb did and follow your feelings anyway?" A few days later, Mr. Richard put on his old clothes again. The faded shirt, the torn trousers, the cracked sandals. He left the mansion quietly and went to a small cafe on the other side of the city. He sat at a table near the window, ordered a cup of tea, and waited. 20 minutes later, Sabrina walked in wearing designer sunglasses and carrying an expensive handbag. She sat down, ordered food, and pulled out her phone. She laughed loudly on calls, took selfies, checked her reflection over and over. To anyone watching, she was just another rich woman killing time. When her food arrived, a waiter set the plate in front of her and apologized for the delay. It took too long. She snapped instantly. "I don't care if the kitchen was busy. I've been sitting here for almost 30 minutes. This is completely unacceptable. You people are so slow and useless. Do you even know who I am? I could buy this entire cafe if I wanted to." The waiter stood there embarrassed, then just bowed his head and walked away, carrying that humiliation with him. Mr. Richard watched everything. That was all he needed. Any doubt he had, any tiny hope that maybe she just had one bad day, died right there with every word she threw at that waiter. That night he sat with Caleb in the living room. His voice was serious. "My son, I need to tell you something important." "Papa, please." Caleb sighed already. "Tired, not this again." "Listen to me," his father said firmly. "I have been watching her. I have tested her. She is rude. She is cruel. She treats people badly. She does not respect anyone she thinks is below her. She only cares about money and status." "Papa, why are you doing this?" Caleb snapped, standing up. "Why do you not want me to be happy?" "I want you to be happy," Mr. Richard replied, his own voice rising. "But not with someone like her." She will destroy you, my son. She will love your money, not you. You are being unfair, Caleb said, shaking his head. You don't even know her. I know more than you think, his father answered. But it didn't matter. Caleb grabbed his car keys and walked out of the house, slamming the door behind him. Here's your mini call to action, stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind. 3 weeks later, the news dropped. Caleb and Sabrina were officially engaged. Social media went crazy. Pictures of her ring their smiles, their outfits. Congratulations poured in friends and strangers, commenting things like power couple and God when. Sabrina was over the moon. She called her friends and bragged about marrying a billionaire. She posted, she posed, she planned. The engagement party was set for Golden Heights Hotel, the same place as the gala. No expense spared. The ballroom was decorated with thousands of white roses, crystal chandeliers, shining above a live band on stage tables, perfectly set a guest list of over 200 people. Business owners, politicians, celebrities, rich families. On the day of the engagement, the hotel was buzzing. Expensive cars lined up women in beautiful gowns, men in tailored suits, cameras flashing, music playing. Sabrina looked like a princess. She wore a pastel gown with silver embroidery diamonds on her neck and ears. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She stood beside Caleb, who wore a sharp navy blue suit, looking proud and composed. Mr. Richard stood near the entrance, watching everything quietly. Despite the calm on his face. Everything looked perfect. Then the footsteps came. They echoed across the marble floor, slow, steady, out of place. Guests turned to look. An old man walked through the ballroom doors, wearing faded, torn clothes and cracked sandals. His face looked tired. His whole presence clashed with the glamour of the room. Security moved quickly. "Sir, this is a private event. You cannot be here," one guard said. But the old man kept walking calm. Sabrina was greeting guests near the stage when she saw the commotion. When her eyes landed on the old man, her smile disappeared. She froze. It was him, the man from the mall. She whispered to herself, "What is he doing here?" Anger shot through her like fire. She marched toward him, heels clicking loudly on the floor. "How dare you come here?" she hissed. "This is a private engagement party for invited guests only. Get out. Right now." The old man looked at her calmly and said nothing. Guests started gathering, whispers spreading. Cameras lifted. Once again, the world was watching. "You have been stalking me," Sabrina shouted, making sure everyone heard. "You followed me here to ruin my engagement. Look at him. Everyone. He is dirty. He is poor. He does not belong here." Still, he said nothing. "You are pathetic," she spit. "You think you can come in here and embarrass me in front of all these important people? People like you should know your place. You are nothing. You have nothing. You will always be nothing. Leave now before I have you arrested." Caleb rushed over and tried to calm her. "Sabrina, please let security handle this." But she was gone. Swallowed by her ego, the old man slowly turned and began to walk toward the exit. Sabrina smiled, satisfied, ready to go back to being the center of attention. Then the sound hit, the loud thumping of helicopter blades shaking the windows, rattling the glasses on the tables. People looked up, startled. A helicopter was landing on the rooftop of the hotel. Sabrina's eyes lit up. "That must be my father-in-law," she said proudly, almost shouting. "Did you hear that?" My father-in-law arrived in a helicopter. Guests murmured, impressed. Cameras pointed toward the ceiling, as if they could see through it. A few minutes later, footsteps echoed on the staircase. A man appeared at the top. He wore a sharp black suit, shoes, polished posture, straight presence, commanding. He walked down the stairs slowly, and as he did, every head turned. It was Mr. Richard, But this time not as a poor man, not as someone in faded clothes. He looked like royalty. Sabrina's smile faded. Confusion washed over her face. Caleb stared between the old man who had just been thrown out and the father who was now walking in like a king, and his brain started doing the math. Mr. Richard walked straight to the stage to the microphone. He tapped it lightly. The sound echoed in the silent ballroom. "Good evening, everyone," he began, voice calm, but carrying weight. "My name is Richard Okafor. I am Caleb's father." Gasps. People whispered to each other. Cameras zoomed in. "I came here tonight." He continued to share something very important. "Many of you know me as a successful businessman. What you do not know is that for the past few months I have been walking the streets of Lagos, disguised as a poor man." A fresh wave of whispers moved through the room. "I did this," he said, "because I wanted to find a good woman for my son. A woman who would love him for who he is, not for what he has. A woman with a kind heart. A woman with respect and dignity. A woman who treats every person the same, whether they are rich or poor." He paused, then turned his eyes toward Sabrina. The room fell into complete silence. 3 weeks ago, he said slowly. "Outside Golden Plaza shopping mall, I was walking quietly, minding my own business. This woman," he pointed directly at her, "slapped me in public." Sabrina's mouth dropped open, her face turning pale. People turned to stare at her. "She insulted me," he continued. "She called me dirty. She said I was nothing. She said I was beneath her. She mocked my clothes, my sandals, my appearance. She showed no mercy, no compassion, no respect." Guests shook their heads, some covering their mouths in shock, others already judging her. "I did not say anything that day. He said I walked away. I wanted to believe maybe she was just having a bad day. So I watched her again. I went to a cafe where she was eating. I saw how she spoke to the waiter when her food was late. She insulted him, belittled him, made him feel useless." The room stayed quiet. No band, no background chatter, just his voice. "Then she came to my house," he said, gesturing toward Caleb. "My son brought her to meet me. She smiled. She called me sir. She played the role of the perfect woman. But I had already seen her true character." He took a breath. "And tonight, just a few minutes ago, I walked into this engagement party dressed as a poor man again. She did the same thing. She called me pathetic. She said I was nothing. She tried to have me thrown out." Sabrina's hands were shaking, tears building in her eyes. Her entire world was falling apart in front of the same people she had tried so hard to impress. "I am not here to cancel this engagement," Richard said, his voice firm. "That decision belongs to my son. I am here to reveal the truth. A woman who cannot respect the poor, who cannot show kindness to those who have less, is not worthy of a good man's love." He stepped away from the microphone and looked at Caleb. Caleb stood there frozen, face full of shock, anger, hurt. Slowly he turned to Sabrina. "Is this true?" he asked, his voice cold. "Caleb, please let me explain. She stuttered, tears rolling down. "Is this true?" he repeated louder this time. She looked at her hands, at the floor, at anything but his eyes. "Yes," she whispered. Caleb stepped back like someone had punched him. "I saw how you spoke to my father when he walked in," he said, shaking his head. "I wanted to believe you were just shocked. But now I see this is who you really are." "No, Caleb, please," she cried, reaching out for him. "I am sorry. I made a mistake. I can change. I promise I will change." "You will change," he said quietly. Pulling his hand away. "How do you change a heart that looks down on people? I cannot marry someone who judges people by their clothes and their bank accounts. I cannot marry someone who treats others like they are worthless. I cannot marry someone who has no respect for human dignity." She dropped to her knees, her dress pooling around her. Please, Caleb, please don't do this. I love you. He shook his head. No, Sabrina, you love my money, my status, my name. You do not love me. He turned to the guests, voice steady now. The engagement is off. And just like that, the fairy tale fell apart. Gasps echoed around the room. People started whispering again, louder this time. Some looked at Sabrina with pity, others with disgust. A few walked by and said things under their breath like, "How could you treat an old man like that?" or, "You deserve this." One by one, the guests left. The music stopped. The decorations that looked so beautiful an hour ago suddenly felt cold and wasted. The lights seemed harsher. The room became empty except for two figures, Sabrina still on the floor and her mother standing beside her with tears in her eyes. "I warned you," Mrs. Adza said softly, voice breaking. "I told you to respect people. I told you pride would destroy you. But you didn't listen, my child." Mama Sabrina sobbed, looking up, face swollen with tears. Mascara smeared. "What do I do now? How do I fix this?" "You cannot fix this," her mother said gently, kneeling beside her and taking her hand. "What is done is done. But you can learn. You can change. You can become a better person." "You can. But I have lost everything," Sabrina cried. "Everyone saw what happened. Everyone knows the truth. How will I face anyone again?" "You face them with humility," her mother answered. "You admit your mistakes. You apologize to the people you hurt. And you spend the rest of your life treating people with the respect they deserve." She helped her daughter to her feet. Slowly, the two of them walked out of that empty ballroom, leaving behind broken promises and a shattered version of who Sabrina thought she was. Meanwhile, in the back of a Mercedes-Benz, Caleb sat next to his father in silence as the city lights passed by outside. Finally, he spoke. "Thank you, Papa," he said quietly. "Thank you for protecting me. I did what any father would do." Richard replied, "I could not let you marry someone who would hurt you." "I understand now." Caleb said, "Why you went out there, why you tested people. I was angry before, but now I see you were right." His father placed a hand on his shoulder. "True love is rare," he said, "but when you find it, you will know. Because true love sees beyond money. It sees beyond status. It sees the heart." Back at home, Sabrina lay in her bed, eyes swollen, heartbroken, staring at the ceiling in the dark. Her mother sat beside her, fingers running through her hair. "I was so foolish," Sabrina whispered, voice raw. "I thought money was everything. I thought status was power. I thought I was better than other people." "Yes, you were wrong," her mother agreed softly. "But now you know. And knowing is the first step." Days turned into weeks. Sabrina disappeared from social media. No more parties, no more outfits of the day. She avoided public places, stayed home most of the time, wrestling with shame and regret. Her mother gently suggested she volunteer at a local charity. At first, Sabrina resisted. The idea of being seen serving poor people felt like salt on an open wound. But slowly she agreed. She started going to a shelter that served food to the homeless. At first, she kept her head down, just following instructions. Serving food, handing out plates, listening quietly. She began to hear stories. Stories of people who lost their jobs, their homes, their families. People who had once been comfortable, even wealthy, and then life struck. Sickness, accidents, bad deals, death. For the first time, she saw the poor not as a category, but as people. One afternoon, she noticed an old man sitting alone in the corner, head bowed. Something about him, the way his clothes hung on him, the way his hands rested on his knees, reminded her of Mr. Richard in his disguise. Her chest tightened. She took a plate of food and walked over, then knelt down so she wasn't towering over him. "Good afternoon, sir," she said gently. "Would you like some food?" He looked up at her with tired eyes, and gave a small smile. "Yes, please," he said. She handed him the plate, carefully made sure it was full, gave him water, asked if he needed anything else. "Thank you, my daughter," he said. "God bless you." Tears filled her eyes. "No, sir," she whispered. "Thank you for letting me serve you." She walked away with her heart feeling different. Not fixed, not healed, but softer. Meanwhile, Caleb kept living his life. He threw himself into his company, into making things better for others, into time with his father. He traveled. He read. He prayed. He didn't rush into another relationship. He had seen up close how dangerous it is to tie your heart to someone who doesn't respect other human beings. One evening, as they sat in the living room, watching the sun go down through their large windows, Mr. Richard looked at his son and said, "My son, I am proud of you." "Why?" Papa Caleb asked. "Because you made the right choice." His father said, "You chose character over beauty, integrity over status. You chose your values over temporary happiness. That is not easy." "You taught me well." Caleb smiled. One day his father replied, "When you meet the right woman, I will know, because she will treat everyone with respect. She will see people's hearts, not their wallets. She will love you for who you are, not for what you have." "I believe that day will come," Caleb said quietly. "It will," his father answered. "Be patient. Good things come to those who wait." Across the city, Sabrina sat at a small desk in her room, a journal open in front of her. She started to write. "I was wrong," she wrote. "I judged people by their appearance. I measured worth by wealth. I thought I was better than others because I had money. But I was blind. True worth is not what you have, but who you are. True beauty is not expensive clothes, but a kind heart. True power is not how you treat the rich, but how you treat the poor." She closed the journal and looked out the window at the night sky. The stars looked like tiny pieces of hope pinned to the darkness. Maybe she had lost Caleb. Maybe she had lost her reputation. Maybe she had lost everything she thought mattered. But she had gained something she never valued before: humility, wisdom, a chance to become a different person. And that in its own quiet way was priceless. The story of the slap. The disguise, the engagement party, it spread through Lagos like fire. People told it in shops, at dinner tables, in offices. Parents used it to teach their children. Treat everyone with respect, they said, because you never know who is watching. You never know who you are really talking to. You never know whose father you might be insulting. Let me ask you now, straight from my heart to yours. Do you think Sabrina deserves a second chance if she truly changes? Would you forgive her if you were Caleb? Do you think what Mr. Richard did, testing people like that, was wise or unfair? And be honest, are we as a society really kind to the poor? Or are there moments where we all act a little bit like Sabrina, even if we don't want to admit it? If this story hit something in you, anger, sadness, hope, maybe even guilt, I want to hear from you. If it were you, what would you have done at that mall, at that engagement party, in Caleb's shoes, in Sabrina's shoes, in the crowd? Do you think money changes people, or just exposes who they really are? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your own experiences of being judged by how you look, or watching someone treat another person like they were nothing. Do you believe in second chances after this kind of humiliation? Or are some lines too far to cross? If you stayed with me all the way to the end, thank you. Hit like if this story made you think. Share it with someone who might need a reminder to stay humble, and subscribe so you don't miss the next story. Because the next one might just make you look at your own heart in a way you didn't expect.